The CBS morning show blow-up, Meghan Markle vs. Nate Burleson on live TV. What happens when a perfectly staged morning show interview morphs into a raw, unfiltered clash that nobody saw coming? What happens when polished royal composure collides with the stubborn edge of a journalist unwilling to stick to the safe script? The answer is a moment so tense, so charged, and so completely unscripted that it ended with security on set and one guest walking out in full view of millions. This is the story of Meghan Markle's CBS This Morning appearance, the one that started as a charming publicity slot and ended as one of the most talked about, dissected, and rewatched interviews in modern TV history. And believe me, it didn't get there because of heartwarming charity stories. The calm before the storm. It was a crisp weekday morning in New York City. The kind of day when the CBS This Morning team could run on autopilot, a coffee in hand, smiles in place, their rundown polished to perfection. But this was no ordinary booking. Meghan Markle herself was in the building. She was there to promote her latest charitable initiative, a multi-pronged effort supporting community food banks, women's shelters, and education access programs. The producers had been prepping for weeks, and the expectations were simple: a warm, uplifting segment. No scandals, no politics, no tabloid drama. In other words, a play nice. The approved talking points had been passed around. The interview would be led by Nate Burleson, the former NFL player turned TV host known for his affable demeanor and ability to make guests relax. Nate had done his homework: facts, figures, a handful of personal anecdotes, and his opening questions were designed to let Meghan shine. The idea was to give the audience a feel-good story over their morning coffee. And for the first few minutes, that's exactly what it was. A smile with sharp edges. When Meghan walked onto the set, she was glowing, dressed in a crisp white blouse, soft curls framing her face, her signature poised smile in place. She greeted Nate warmly, the kind of warmth that cameras love. "Good morning, Nate." "It's wonderful to be here," she said, her voice as steady and deliberate as ever. Nate mirrored the sentiment, introducing her to viewers with a short monologue praising her philanthropic work and recent food bank visits. The conversation began in perfect harmony. Meghan spoke eloquently about her latest project, detailing the staggering number of families facing food insecurity. She recounted meeting a young mother who skipped meals so her children could eat, her tone heartfelt but measured, almost as if she'd practiced the lines, but still meant them. Viewers at home saw nothing amiss. The control room was relaxed, the crew steady. But to those in the studio, there was something else in the air. Meghan's composure felt just a touch too controlled, her smile lingering just a second too long after each point. It was as if she'd walked in prepared for a fight no one had planned to have. The first hairline crack, everything changed with a single question. Nate, still smiling, leaned slightly forward in his chair. His tone was friendly, but his words edged toward something sharper. "It's great to see you focus on grassroots efforts," he began. "But you know, some people have questioned whether celebrity involvement in charity work is always as authentic as it appears. How do you respond to critics who might think it's more about publicity than the cause itself?" The studio air shifted instantly. This wasn't on the pre-approved list. Meghan's posture stiffened just enough to register. She blinked once, slowly, before replying. "I think," she said, voice cool, "that question says more about the person asking it than it does about the work being done. When your first instinct is to question the authenticity of charitable work rather than celebrate its impact, it reveals a certain broken bar cynicism." Nate didn't flinch. "I'm not questioning your specific efforts, Meghan. I'm talking more broadly. This is a conversation a lot of people are having, how celebrity culture intersects with charity work. Our viewers might appreciate hearing your take." The word "our" seemed to land wrong. "Our viewers," Meghan repeated, with a slight emphasis. "They deserve to hear about the real work and the actual programs making a difference, not manufactured controversy designed to create headlines." In the control room, a producer muttered under their breath, Here we go. Tension on a knife's edge. Nate's tone stayed level. I'm not trying to create controversy. I'm trying to have an honest conversation. Isn't that what good journalism should do? Meghan's smile vanished completely. Good journalism, she said, serves the public interest. It doesn't fish for sound bites to be taken out of context. It was clear now, this was no longer a puff piece. The studio atmosphere tightened. Camera operators exchanged glances. Crew members stopped moving, as if any sudden motion might make things worse. Nate pressed on, not with aggression, but with the stubbornness of someone who sensed there was more here than the press release version. When high-profile individuals get involved in charity, the public naturally wonders whether it's about the cause or the brand. How do you separate your work from your public image? Meghan's eyes sharpened. Are you seriously suggesting my work with food banks, shelters, and education programs is some calculated marketing strategy? I'm asking how you respond to those who might think that way. Nate replied evenly. My response, Meghan said, voice rising slightly, is that while we're sitting here debating my motives, real people are being helped. The families I met yesterday don't care about my so-called brand. They care about their next meal. Nate nodded. And that's admirable. But you have to understand, with your platform and resources, scrutiny comes with the territory. That's not personal. That's reality. Meghan let out a humorless laugh. Nothing about public life is more personal than having your motives questioned every time you try to do something positive. Do you think I need the publicity? I could stay home and live quietly, but I choose to help. But does the knowledge that positive press comes from charity work ever influence the decision to do it? Nate asked. That did it. The cracks widen. You want to know what influences my decisions? Meghan shot back. The fact that I grew up knowing what it meant to struggle. That I know what it's like to feel powerless. That when you can help, you should help. I respect that, Nate said. But you also have to acknowledge your platform exists because of your connection to the royal family. How do you separate the privilege from the work? The studio went so silent you could hear the faint whir of the overhead lights. Meghan stared at Nate, her voice icy when she finally spoke. Are you really going to sit here and suggest that any good I do is somehow tainted because of who I married? Are you reducing my work to gossip about my personal life? I'm not reducing anything, Nate countered. I'm pointing out that in academic and policy discussions, privilege and platform are central to the conversation about charity. It's not an attack. It's context. Let me tell you what's not academic, Meghan snapped. The woman who hasn't eaten in days. The teenager raging out of foster care. The immigrant family too scared to access services. That's what I'm here to talk about. And yet, Nate said, when someone like you speaks on these issues, the conversation inevitably becomes about you. How do you navigate that? How do I navigate it? Meghan's voice cracked with anger. By focusing on the work while people like you insist on making it about anything else. By answering the same cynical questions over and over while real problems get buried under noise. Don't you think addressing those questions head-on is part of the responsibility of having a platform? Nate asked. Transparency can serve the causes you care about. Meghan's eyes flashed. You want transparency? Fine. I didn't have to come here. I didn't have to open myself up to this. I could have stayed silent and avoided having my work picked apart by people who have never done a fraction of what I've done. The breaking point. The control room was chaos now. Whispered debates about cutting to commercial. The floor manager waving frantically to wrap it. But the clash unfolding on set was too riveting to kill. Then Nate asked the question that shattered any chance of salvaging the segment. So why come here, Meghan? If these questions are so unfair, why agree to this interview at all? Meghan's chair scraped loudly as she stood. You know what, Nate? That's a great question. Why did I think I could come here and have a conversation about important issues without having to defend my right to care about them? Nate rose too, his voice calm but strained. I'm asking legitimate questions. Legitimate? Meghan's tone dripped with disdain. This is the same tired playbook. Tear down anyone who tries to do something good, twist their work into a spectacle. Security had started to edge onto the set. Not because Meghan was being removed, but because the scene had reached a point where someone needed to step in. "This is why people with resources sometimes choose not to help," Meghan said, glaring. "Because there's always someone ready to turn it into an attack." "Meghan, I think we've gone further than either of us intended," Nate said. "Oh, now you want to step back?" Meghan shot back. "Now that you've got your dramatic moment." The Exeter producer finally appeared in frame, gesturing toward the wrap-up. Meghan ignored them, unhooking her mic. "I came here in good faith," she said, voice carrying across the studio. "Instead, I got ambushed. And I'm done with this interview, with this network, with journalists who confuse tearing people down with doing their jobs." She turned towards the exit, security flanking her. At the doorway, she looked back one last time. "You wanted a story, Nate. Here it is. Someone tried to help, and you turned it into a circus. Congratulations. I hope your ratings are worth it." She was gone. Aftermath. The set was dead silent. Nate remained standing for a long moment before slowly returning to his chair. The cameras cut, the control room exhaled, and social media lit up like wildfire. Within minutes, clips flooded Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Pundits, fans, and critics all weighed in. Was Nate doing his job or crossing a line? Was Meghan right to walk out or thin-skinned in the face of fair questions? One thing was certain: a segment designed to be a harmless PR boost had just become a defining moment in the ongoing, complicated relationship between celebrities, the media, and the public. And years from now, people would still be arguing about who was right. Ask ChatGPT.